So, Shan, it's been like 2 weeks since I started writing blogs for Chosenly, and the fun part is that I actually used Chosenly to write those blogs for Chosenly, and I think it was extremely easy and effective for me to use it. So, I just actually got this text from Harsh this morning that the feature is now live, and other companies can also use it. So, can you just walk through that feature, and I'll write a post on that as well.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah. This is, I think, one of the my favorite features, right? Because if I'll give you a little bit of backstory. So if you look at content writers, they are everyone's thinking about Chat GPT and how they don't like that. Hey, it's now people are devaluing content and there's all of these like they're worried, right? And they're really worried about their jobs and the value of their jobs and how good or bad ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude are. But if you think about what content writing has become or had become, right? Like it's basically writers would get a keyword from an SEO team, and then they had to do was they were given maybe a keyword limit and then some keywords to write it for, and they had to create a blog by they wouldn't usually get access to any experts, and they weren't experts themselves, so they had to just go on the internet, see whatever they find, consolidate it, summarize it, reformat it, and put it out there again. That's basically what ChatGPT does. And now, if you say that you want to beat tech at what it does best, you might be better than it now, but you will fall behind, right? And I think ChatGPT, even though it's painful now, is going to force companies to not treat writers as this, as a summarization machine. It's going to you'll get to create again. There is no writer who start their career by thinking, oh wow, I get to summarize stuff, right? That's never any writer starting their career what they thought about. What now you would have to create good content, and that's going to be important. And I think the content strategy piece, and that's the one that you've had access to, both the content strategy and the brief piece. Talking about the strategy piece here, the strategy piece helps uh, maybe the SEO teams or the whoever's doing content strategy give better briefs to content writers to then let them do better work or come up with better strategy or better things. I'll show you what this looks like, right? So as someone who's creating content strategy, this is the view that you have. Now, in this view, obviously we had to blur out a lot of stuff. In this view, what you can see is you can see here, these are the seed keywords. So unlike keywords in a normal SEO tool or something, why is it called a seed keyword is because it then gets converted into a bunch of different prompts, and then we search for all these prompts. Out of all of the variations, we collect all the citations, which are the sources that people use to generate, ChatGPT is used to generate the answer. It collects all the citations here, and then out of that, so it you see the citations, you see the keywords, you see the variations. You don't see the variations being generated, but you see all of this stuff. Now, as a content strategist, what you do is, and again, this is what you've been doing. The first thing you see is you need to understand is an average bottom funnel purchase intent search usually uses about 8 to 15 citations to generate an answer. That's what ChatGPT does normally. So the first thing you can do is you can just, I like pressing this button, and it filters out everything that has fewer citations than this. So what this does is say, hey, these are some anomalies where it only used 3, 4, 5 citations to generate the entire answer. Now, if you look at this one, out of the 3 citations, 2 were even spammy or not really great sources for citations or to generate the answer anyway. That leaves us with one good citation. So what the insight that this means is that, hey, like ChatGPT looked at a lot of pages. It doesn't mean this is the only page it looked at. It means it looked at maybe 15, maybe 30, maybe 45, 50 pages. But when it was generating the answer, it only used unique information from these 3 pages to write the answer it generated. Hence, this was the citation, not what it researched. It researched more, cited only this. Now, if that's the case, why did it do that? Right? So let's actually open. Let's actually do this. I'm going to take this, open this page actually, and show people what this page is. right? So if you look at, okay, what kind of a page is it? That was the only page that is cited by ChatGPT. This is it. Great. On it. So this page is written by Sam. Great. We'll have to probably tag him. This is a research company, right? AI Multiple is probably a research company. That's what's written. Now, what they've done is they've sort of done this very, very good blog, very detailed blog on MFA tools, right? They've gone ahead, they've looked at tools, they've looked at, okay, what would a open source tool need, what does each of these feature look like. They've looked at enterprise features, they've made like multiple tables for different kinds of things, not just like what you see on a normal blog, like, hey, us versus them, all of our things is green, every one of competitors have nothing. So it's not one of those. It's actually well researched. They have clear dates on when this data was updated. So and then it goes into every single uh, product that it is actually recommending. And out of all of those, it sort of is saying that, hey, this is the product. Why am I recommending this versus that versus something else? It's showing screenshots. It's very, very in depth. And the reason why ChatGPT is using this to generate its answer is because, or only using this to generate the answer, is because there was no blog that had any information that this didn't. This was the most comprehensive blog by far. And this is the blog we're talking about. Now again, so that's the kind of insight to draw from here. Now, so if you had to really become a source for this, what you would do is you would create a blog that has as much information as maybe this blog on that is currently being cited by AI multiple. So you would make sure your blog has all of this information, but also have other information. So maybe a day to day of a writer turns from what they've been doing, like, hey, uh, I'm just going to go ahead, research, summarize, and all of that, to, hey, now I need to figure out how I get more information. And in my opinion, there are 5 ways you can get this information. Either you can see what is existing in cited sources. So again, you go to AI multiple, read them, look at what they've cited. You can even like link to them saying that, hey, I pulled this information from them. You could look at maybe other public information, right? You can say that, hey, this company has been funded by this. These are funded companies, non-funded companies. How many users they have. So all of this maybe also proves as looks at as proof, or you can tag like, okay, in G2 they have this much reviews and stuff, which is again useful for people to take decisions. So you can use public information, you can use that and add to your website. You can even add public information that you can maybe infer something from. So you can read through a lot of the reviews and say, hey, you know what? Usually people complain about this or like these features. These are the most liked or least liked features. Or you can say something like, hey, you can go to LinkedIn, you can look at how big their support team is and say, hey, this is how good the support or how scalable they are or whatever. Right? You can sort of infer information, public information, or you could also do this thing where you can go to someone inside the company who's an expert. If you have a company that does this, you probably have someone who's an expert. You can go to them, ask them about information. Again, these are people usually writers don't have access to. And this process is now giving you access to these people finally to create good content. You can interview them, get information, put it out there. And finally, if like the toughest one of them all is you could also go out there and try and source your own expert to create this, right? So yes, the cost of creating content might go up, but also the value of content is going up. How good the content is going out. You're giving people an actual reason to read blogs. You're becoming who I think you dreamed of as a role of a writer would look like. Is that's what it's getting closer to. And since the keywords are so close to what an SEO keyword already is, you don't need two strategies. This blends with your SEO strategy pretty well. And you don't need a separate AI SEO strategy and SEO strategy because this sort of covers both. You can filter keywords for SEO, focus on them here. In that, filter further for citations, spammy, ranks. It shows you all of this information, a lot of other information. Like it shows you if you say 10, who are above you, shows you all of this information. So you can look at that and then see, okay, how can I create one piece of content that's both SEO optimized and AI SEO optimized and create good content finally. Yeah, that's a very, very in-depth overview of this.
Got it, yeah. Uh, So while I was writing the blog, I had to do a lot of back and forth with the SEO team, because what I realized was that this feature is not just restricted to content teams but rather to both SEO and content teams, right? So what do you think? Does the strategy change for SEO teams? Do they have to ditch their existing strategy, or what does a day in their life look like once they implement this?
Oh yeah, no. So this is. I think you start with an SEO strategy,
Yeah.
create the keywords. You'll find the same keywords. Again, it's not like a keyword to keyword map, but okay, the similar keywords have been turned into prompts. So if you have a top the funnel strategy, think about an SEO. Don't think.
Okay, and when are we rolling out the briefs feature? Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.